Well, we are glad to have you. First, what's your reaction to what's happening on the Ukraine-Russia border?
Well, this is it's almost unbelievable. But then you look at who Putin is, and you say, okay, it looks like it's happening. I mean, he is basically assembling an invasion force that we haven't seen in Europe since World War II. 190,000 soldiers. Of course, he's got naval forces and Marines ready to assault from the Black Sea. It's just it's unprecedented, and it really spells trouble for Europe and for the world.
Is there in any sense that this could be avoided from a diplomatic sense? Are there diplomatic steps that could be taken that might avert this?
Well, that's two questions. Is there something that could have been done in the past to have kept us from getting to this point? I think an effective withdrawal from Afghanistan with a commander-in-chief who appears strong enough to deter something like this would have been incredibly helpful. We don't have that now. We have a failed withdrawal that has empowered our enemies, energized them. So I don't know that in the past there's anything we could have done, other than have a different president. In terms of the go forward, it doesn't look like there's anything at this point that NATO, EU, and the U.S. that we should do. I mean, Putin's ultimatum is akin to the ultimatum that the Serbians gave the Austrians that started World War I. I mean, this ultimatum is intentionally written knowing that we can't accept the terms of that. And Putin echoed it again this morning. So I think we're at an impasse diplomatically. We should continue to try, of course, but I don't see anything that Putin wants to have happen that we can make happen.
In a 3,000-word document from the Russians earlier today, they seem to be making the argument that they're actually trying to protect their security in this sense. What are they claiming their position is?
Well, from Russians' perspective, they believe that the activities of NATO expansion, meaning adding states like Poland and Romania, and the possibility that we might add Ukraine in the future, presents a security threat to them by putting the forces of the West on the Russian border. You look at even back to the Tsarist times, the Tsars of Russia and of course the Soviet Union, they protected their country through proxy states or through buffer states surrounding the country, and that's how they have secured or created security for themselves, and that's what Putin wants to resurrect. But in this case, NATO is there in Poland now, unfortunately for him, and so now he's going to do it with Ukraine as quickly as he can before they become a NATO ally.
Well, in that sense, he would be moving the border instead of NATO moving the border, wouldn't he? Because if he were to take Ukraine, then he's just moved that much closer to Europe, which he claims is the problem. Am I misunderstanding that in any way?
Well, no, but that creates the buffer for him, right? I mean, he gets the buffer state of Ukraine between Russia and the West.
Yeah. Is the international community prepared to go to war to stop Russia?
I don't think anyone in the West is talking about putting, either NATO forces and we certainly aren't, I am fully against, and I think most of the American leadership is against putting U.S. troops on the ground in Ukraine. And now, honestly, the Ukrainians don't want it. I visited Kyiv just a few weeks ago as a part of a congressional delegation. I was the lead Republican in that delegation, and the Ukrainians were very clear they don't want American soldiers there. They are willing to fight if they have the equipment. So I don't see the West doing that. Now the West is going to create incredible sanctions, and that they're going to cripple the Russian economy. I do see us bolstering our forces in NATO countries that border this buildup. You look at him massing troops in Belarus, which happens to be on the border of Poland and the Baltics, and so we have a responsibility to those allies to make sure that he knows any attack against them will be, met with stiff military, kinetic, everything. So
You talk about sanctions that would cripple the Russian economy. What would those be?
Well, clearly, if we disrupt their ability to do dollar-backed trade or banking transactions, their ability to trade internationally would be severely impacted. I mean, it would keep them from buying wheat. It would keep them from buying, other products from other countries. So, I mean, it would essentially cut them off from international trade.
Presumably Putin is aware of this and he just doesn't care?
Yeah, they prepared their economy. It's interesting. They did a very good job of preparing their economy, their reserves, their conversion of their reserves to Russian currency versus, dollar-backed currency. They got rid of all their dollars. They're in a better place. It still will be devastating to their economy, though.